Alright guys, today we are gonna be reacting to JD Vance tells North Carolina voters Kamala Harris has a record to be ashamed of. Let's jump in.
Now, sometimes, my friends, politics is complicated. But this race is about as simple as it could be, and you can tell that it's simple because Kamala Harris, more than any candidate in the history of presidential politics, is running away from a record instead of to a record. And there are all these different takes, all these different spins we can put on this race, but I think the most simple and the most direct is that Donald Trump had a record to be proud of and Kamala Harris has a record to be ashamed of. So we're not going to promote her. We're going to say, now, it's funny, Kamala is as afraid of the American media, even though most of the media is friendly to Kamala, as she is some of the most hostile leaders all over the world. And I happen to believe that if you have a vice president who is terrified to speak to the American people and terrified to give an interview to the American media, that she belongs nowhere near the Oval Office. I mean, think about this. How can we trust Kamala Harris to represent us in front of the most dangerous regimes in the world if she won't even sit for an interview with the American media? Now, I
Facts. And when she'd sit down, it's always with a very friendly interviewer.
say that, and I admit that I'm a little biased here, because part of the reason I think Kamala Harris should do some interviews is because the American people deserve it. But part of the reason I want Kamala Harris to do some interviews is because every time she opens her mouth, I think Donald Trump and I gain about 100,000 votes. So, and I don't know of the few interviews that she has given. I don't know if it's one or two, but it's not that many. It's funny to try to have her answer what her actual plans are for the American people. You know, the press back here, we've got some reporters and we'll take some questions in a little bit, but the press will ask Kamala Harris, what is your specific plan to lower the cost of groceries, to lower the cost of housing, which of course have gone up wildly under the policies of Kamala Harris? And you know what she'll say? She'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family.
That's true. Every time.
And I know the struggles. Or she'll say, you know, when I was a little girl, my parents had a very nice lawn.
Yeah, every time.
She'll say anything but what her actual plans are to lower the inflation that she caused. She'll say anything other than talk about how she's going to fix the problems that her administration led to. She will do anything to avoid answering the very simple fact that Kamala Harris has made the American people's lives worse. And on November 5th, the state of North Carolina is going to say to Kamala Harris, you're fired. Go back to San Francisco where you belong.
You know what's crazy about this? The government, the way that they do this is that there's no problem. They create the problem and then they present themselves as a solution to that same problem they created. That's the problem with the government of the United States. There's no problem. They create the problem and now they present themselves as a solution. Vote for me. That's how the Democrats are dealing with this election. Kamala Harris is running this election like she had nothing to do with Joe Biden. And by the way, if you notice, Kamala Harris is aging very rapidly, by the way.
Now, let's just go through the ways in which Kamala Harris has made the lives of North Carolinians worse off. You know that it costs over $1,000 more per month to afford the same things that you would have afforded 3.5 years ago. That's more than $12,000 a year just to afford the same quality of life as when Donald Trump was president. Now that's not it, of course, because everything has become more expensive under the policies of Kamala Harris. She casts the tie-breaking vote on almost $4 trillion of wasteful spending, where she taxed money from the American taxpayer, sent it off to China and to foreign regimes all over the world, printed money we didn't have to give it to other people, and now the American families can't afford basic middle-class necessities. You go to a grocery store, the price of eggs when Donald Trump left office was about $1.50 a dozen. The price of eggs, the average now is close to $4 a dozen, thanks to the policies of Kamala Harris. And
last week was $2.50, and this week it was almost $4. It was crazy, man. When I saw that, I was like, no way the prices of eggs just went up by almost 100%, man. No way. No, I'm not 50%. That's crazy.
I'll tell you, I know this very personally because my kids, we got a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and they eat a whole lot of eggs every morning. So I feel it as much as anybody. I see it as much as anybody because we are, it takes a lot of food to feed 3 hungry kids.
Yeah.
Now, we took our boys, actually, I'll tell you a story. We took our boys with us on the campaign trail just a couple of days ago when we were in Pennsylvania. And we went to a Hispanic grocery store in Reading, Pennsylvania, and my 2 boys came along with me. And it illustrates how, sometimes kids, their personalities are just inborn, Because we took our 7-year-old boy and our 4-year-old boy, and we go to this grocery store, and I was so proud of my 4-year-old because he set a goal for himself that he was going to do 100 reading lessons with his mama, and he actually accomplished that goal last Saturday. So we're very proud of our 4-year-old. Give him a round of applause. So I say, boys, you can come on the campaign trail with me, and we're going to get you anything you want at this grocery store. And of course, the 4-year-old wants a candy bar, but the 7-year-old, I'm literally talking on camera about the price of eggs and the price of groceries in this grocery store. And my 7-year-old's like, Dad, we need to get a dozen eggs. And I'm like, son, when I said you could get anything, I meant like a Snickers bar or an ice cream. And he's like, no, Dad, you cooked the last 3 eggs this morning. If we don't get eggs, we're not going to have any more eggs. And the 7-year-old, he's got his mama's personality. Very practical, worried about whether we have enough eggs. And right now, all across our country, we've got a lot of families that are cutting back because of Kamala Harris's war on affordability in this country. And Donald Trump and I believe in a very simple principle, my friends. We believe that if you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to afford a nice life for your American family. It's that simple. And that is not that hard. We just got to get better leadership and common sense economic policies back in the White House. We got to get Kamala Harris out of there and put Donald Trump back where he belongs, leading this great country and pursuing common sense.
I'm glad that JD Vance has really improved a lot in the last couple of weeks, actually a month. And in the first couple interviews that he was doing, he looks a little bit green, but now he's ready to roll. I think a lot of these, the last interview that he did with Dana from CNN, I think that back and forth put him in reality. Like, man, these people are here to really to do wrong. Dana, to sit down with Kamala Harris, did a bad job. She had the audacity to come to let JD Vance to say yes to the interview, and she felt that she was entitled to just go back and forth very roughly with him. And he told him like, hey, no. Gladly, I don't have to take this. I can leave the interview. She felt like, okay, I need this interview because I need to get paid. And JD Vance has really involved the leadership of the vice president, and I'm glad that he just finally really stepped out to the plate. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one.